I'm Dr. Jett, and I've had a passion for public health for over 30 years. Now I'm in a position to affect change, and these are the critical conversations about health and our community, with people who can help me make those changes. Good morning. Welcome to CEO Live Talks. I'm your host, Dr. Jett, and I want to say Happy Derby Week to everybody. And before I begin, I want to just share something. You know, over the last couple of weeks, we're still mourning the losses that happened at One National Bank and the families that are impacted. You know, my heart goes out to you, and it never will get any better as the day goes by. So we'll continue to have you in our prayers at Park DuValle. And thank you. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having
Today's
me.
my guest is Dr. Dwayne Compton. And so, before we begin and get into some heavy matters today, I kind of want to ask you a little bit about where'd you get that tie from?
Well, you know, I had to throw something on to represent today, a little black and gold for you.
A little black and gold.
You know, and so for me, I try to make sure I get nothing but the best.
I see.
This in particular is from verse 9.
Okay.
You know, it's a black-owned business.
Okay.
They have some really nice, fashionable ties, neckties, bow ties, pocket squares to match. So shout out to verse 9.
Okay, verse 9.
Yeah.
And I see you also got Compton hats on.
Yeah, definitely.
So this man loves hats.
Indeed. So I'm the proud owner of Compton Headwear, which is a fashionable, trendy headwear business. You know, we have hats for all people, even folks with little heads.
I got a little head, Peter-shaped head.
But we our tagline is classic, dapper, stylish. So you know, you rock one of our hats, that's how you're gonna feel. One of those three are a combination.
And what's the website people can find it at?
So they can find our selection at ComptonHeadwear.com, www.comptonheadwear.com. And I always tell folks, click the catalog to see all of what we have to offer. You know, we provide bucket hats, snapbacks, beanies, you know, Ivy hats, newsboys.
I notice people always come up and shaking your hand talking about, I need a hat. I didn't understand what that meant for a while.
Yeah. Because they always see me wearing a hat. As I have one on now, and it's very simple. So I like to have, you know, simple. And I have some that's a little more complicated, sophisticated with paisley patterns, you know, plaid patterns, etc.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm a Louisville native, you know, born and raised right here in Louisville, Kentucky. Raised in the west end of Louisville.
That's where I won't come out.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, naturally, early years was over in the Park DuValle area. As a matter of fact, Carter Homes, Peyton Place. Then, of course, later in the elementary school years, moved to Market Street, 34th and Market. So you know, proud to grow up in that Shawnee area.
Yeah, that's Shawnee.
Did you know, a lot of my education in JCPS, so I'm a proud JCPS graduate. Yeah, I always say that, you know, Shawnee High School was one of the best. We say best in the West.
Best in the West.
And so that's where I graduated from high school, and thoroughly enjoyed, you know, my experience.
I like Shawnee. I used to coach there, so.
Yeah. So I love Shawnee. Did a little bit of everything while I was at Shawnee. You know, participated in our travel and tourism program. Was actively engaged student. You know, played 3 sports. I ran cross country, played basketball, ran track, and so whatever else I can get my hands on.
So what did you run in track?
So in track, my specialty actually was the mile. The 1600 is what I ran. Most of the times, we had some runners. At Shawnee, so I would get put in on sprints every once in a while. 200, 400, but most of the times it was a mile for me because we had some guys that can run. So they ran the hundreds and the relays and et cetera.
Okay. So. All right. So tell me a little bit about the difficulty, if any, growing up in the West End.
Yeah. So you know, one of the things that I would say was a plus is we had neighborhood, we had community.
Okay.
So no matter what block I went on, you know, I was fortunate to have family, aunts, cousins that lived on different blocks that I kind of grew up on. So we always had community. You had members of the community that would provide a lot of opportunity for us. And like Jewel Park was a place that I went, you know, to play. And so you always had some league going on. We had the families like the White family, Nardi and Briggy, that would host a softball in Jewel Park and flag football and a number of other things. But, growing up, you did know that there were a lot of families that struggled with poverty, low income. So there were some inconsistencies. You have friends that you played with 1 minute, next minute they moved, but all in all, one of the things that we see today that I still think is that would happen back then was gun violence. Unfortunately, I know folks that
was it a lot back then.
It's hard to quantify what a lot was because one life being taken to gun violence was too many. And especially in your teen years, knowing someone who may have been killed in the drive-by. Going to school with folks that were killed. Quite frankly, that was one of the things that I know folks that I went to Shawnee with who didn't make it. So that was a real thing then, as it is now. So it's hard to quantify what a lot is because
I just look at
one
it
too many.
Because I don't remember, unless I just wasn't paying attention, that there was a lot of violence in the 90s compared to now.
Yeah, I think it's just different because we see more through social media, right? I think what is reported is a lot more than what it was back then. But we had our share of violence in West Louisville back in the day. Again, we had drugs. So I know folks who sold drugs, and so that's not new.
Right.
Unfortunately.
And then I knew the gangs was present.
Gangs was more prevalent, I feel like, then than they are now, even though we still have a gang issue. Right. We had a number of local gangs, as well as gangs that folks that come from Chicago and Memphis and some other areas that brought gangs with them here, and established them.
And tell me about your love of basketball.
Yeah, it's really interesting, man. So I always played basketball in Jewel Park. Growing up, most folks that grew up in the 80s and 90s know that crate ball was a thing, right? Going to get old milk crates, cutting the bottom out of it, hanging them up on utility poles,
almost
trees.
Like stick ball.
Yeah. And so me and my friends, we would do that, right? Because we didn't always have access to a basketball goal if we didn't go to the park. Right. But nonetheless, we had some knockdown, drag out games in the alleys and things like that. So really more interesting. I didn't play organized basketball until I got to high school. I think a lot of it was a confidence thing. Even though I could hold my own, I played with some guys that were really good in middle school and even, neighborhood parks and what have you. So my ninth grade year, I decided to go out for the team and made the team. And the rest is history. I put my everything into it. I've always known as a hard worker. So I think a lot of my hard work mixed with a little bit of ability got me to where I became a really good ball player for Shawnee that ultimately led for an opportunity for me to go to Berea College and play basketball. Yeah,
so talk about that transition, because it's one thing to play ball in high school and then transition to college. And, they always project where a person's going to go and how high. Or it's always an acclimation period.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So what was that like for you?
Yeah. So if you saw me coming out of high school, I was 150 pounds soaking wet, you know. You get to college, one, it's a faster paced game. Guys are bigger and stronger. I didn't lift weights, in high school. So the adjustment to the game was one, adjusting to the time clock. I think I probably got, my coach got on me more because of, not paying attention. As a point guard, you got to pay attention to the clock. Right. So one, the game is faster. Guys are bigger, stronger, even guards. And so I had to spend a lot of my freshman year really watching guys older, those veteran players on the team.
And then get in the weight room.
And then get in the weight room. That was you had to get in the weight room. And I applaud Berea College is a small school that has some great facilities. So got in the weight room, got my weight up, as they say, and then I was able to push people around, even as a guard. So some of it is you learn from those that preceded you. And I was fortunate to play with some really good guys and have some coaches and assistant coaches that really kind of took me under their wing and say, hey, this is what you need to do to be successful at this level.
This episode of CEO Live Talks is brought to you by Park National Bank. Pay with confidence. Your Park debit card is the fast, safe, smart way to pay this holiday season. Get more details online at parknationalbank.com.
If you or someone you love is considering therapy, contact the professionals at Park DuValle Community Health Centers today.
My Park DuValle Community Health Center is right here.
Communities in our name.
My Park DuValle Community Health Center is right here.
You're always on time.
Because we serve the community.
My Park DuValle Community Health Center is right here.
Park DuValle Community Health Center, providing quality health care, one person, one family, one neighborhood at a time.
My Park DuValle Community Health Center is right here for them.
Park DuValle Community Health is right here for your children's primary care. At Park DuValle Community Health Center, our team of highly dedicated pediatric physicians administer state-of-the-art care right here, every day. Because serving the community is more than part of our name, it's our mission. Park DuValle Community Health Center, providing quality health care, one person, one family, one neighborhood at a time.
At Park DuValle, we offer a variety of services for behavioral health needs, such as therapy, medication management, case management, and we also have community health workers. Here at Park DuValle Community Health Center, in our behavioral health department, we provide you with the tools to help improve your life and your mental health. If you or someone you know is experiencing thoughts of suicide, please don't hesitate to give the Suicide Prevention Hotline a call. This could save your life or someone else's life.
What made you focus on a certain career? Because you're playing basketball, and a lot of people understand that sports actually provides that discipline, but it doesn't align the career track.
Right.
Right. So what defined what career track you would take while you was in college?
Yeah, so when I got to college, when I was at Berea, I actually was engineering major.
Okay.
And Berea didn't have an engineering program. They had a 3-2 partnership where you stay at Berea for 3 years, get a bachelor's degree in physics or math, go to University of Kentucky or WashU in St. Louis, and finish their engineering curriculum. Well, I wanted to play basketball 4 years. So, I said, well, maybe I could stay here 4 years and do 1 year, because all I heard was 5, right? So it didn't work that way. So they said, no, you still got to go there 2 years, finish their curriculum. So I changed my major in my junior year. I took a red shirt year, changed my major from engineering to technology and industrial arts management, which is really like a form of industrial manufacturing engineering. Right. Right. So I was kind of headed still toward that engineering track career-wise. But then in the back of my mind, I also kept saying, well, I wouldn't mind being a basketball coach, maybe
Right.
a Division I basketball coach, And so when I graduated from Berea, I actually thought I was headed to Birmingham, Alabama. I had did some internships there at a cast iron piping company.
Okay.
And so a lot of my friends are there,
Okay.
So I said, well, I'll go to Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a gentleman named Carl Thomas called me up and said, hey, we got an opportunity for you.
You mean the singer?
No, not the singer, not the singer. He's just as popular, no, Carl Thomas, this Carl Thomas is a veteran and well-known at Berea College, well-known throughout Birmingham, Alabama. Recruited a lot of students to go to Berea. So he came to me and said, hey, we got an opportunity for you if you're interested to come back to Berea to work in admissions and recruit in your hometown. We need somebody like you who can go to the high schools and recruit in Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, Frankfort. And at the time, playing in front of thousands of people was nothing, right? But thinking about going into a classroom talking to high school students was a little scary. So I kind of was like, yeah, I don't know about this, But he said, well, give me a year. Give me a year, and if you don't, like it, I'll help you find your next job.
Right.
And that year is now, at this point, has been 21 years later,
Wow.
22 years later.
Wow.
So, he's been a great mentor. There's some others at Berea. Joe Bagnoli, who was the director of admissions at the time, was like, hey, you can do this. And once I got into it, it's just something I really like because it's the impact, right? I can come back to Louisville. I can go to Lexington, Cincinnati, Paducah, Owensboro, and recruit folks who look like me and provide exposure to Berea College, which has a very unique history here in the state of Kentucky, being the first college in the South to integrate the classroom with black and white students. And so being able to tell that story of Berea and recruit students to go to a school where there's no tuition, and you only pay a small percentage of what you can afford as relates to your room and board, I thought was
that's a great story.
Really, really great story. So nonetheless, after my first year at Berea, the coach I played for retired. And the coach that preceded him, my coach said, hey, you need to get Dwayne Compton to serve as one of your assistants. So I actually started, as an assistant coach,
right?
After being at Berea a year. So again, that coaching bug was still there,
right?
Not realizing that I would be in higher ed this long.
Okay.
After being at Berea for about 4.5 years, I moved back to Louisville, and I wanted to get a master's degree. So I came back to Louisville and started working in admissions at U of L since 2005. And thought that maybe I could get on with Rick Pitino, maybe as a graduate assistant, but that didn't work out. But working in admissions and then having other opportunities at U of L has kept me there for now the last 18 years.
So you can still moonlight. We just need to call Kenny up.
Now I'm gonna let Kenny and his squad handle what they got going on right now, and be a spectator and supporter.
All right. So you're on the board of trustees.
Yes.
So I mean, Berea really loves you.
Well, I love Berea. I love Berea. I tell a lot of people I wouldn't be where I am today had it not been for Berea.
Okay.
Right. Having the opportunity to go to college practically debt-free. And when I say practically, I mean literally debt-free. The networking that came along, and just the people.
I've met a lot of people from Berea.
Positive influence. So it's hard not to want to give back to a school like that. And so I've had opportunity to engage with the Young Alumni Advisory Council when they established it. I had an opportunity to engage with the Alumni Executive Council, and in fact currently sit as the president of that council, but then most recently appointed to the Board of Trustees, which is an awesome way to give back in longer term.
So for inquiring minds, because I'm just curious, what does that entail? Being on the Board of Trustees?
So being on the Board of Trustees really provides an opportunity for you to, one, gain a better understanding of all operations of what's happening at the institution, right? Where some of the things that, that the institution is challenged by, and then where some things is working really well. And as a trustee, how can you promote Berea to prospective students, and most importantly, prospective donors, from a philanthropic standpoint, right? How do you share the story of Berea to folks who may want to contribute? And then work with the president, right? You work with the president, you work with the C-suite VPs, provosts, vice presidents, et cetera, to figure out what area most interests you, and then where can you lend your expertise. As a person that worked in higher ed, and have that expertise, I try to focus on areas that impact students, right? So it could be student life, service learning. Berea is well known for its work program. It is one of 10 work colleges in the country. So they have a labor program that provides students an opportunity to gain hands-on experience and get paid a little something, but also work towards, some of that funding goes towards them working off their degree
and
as
I'm
well.
assuming because you get a chance to see the entire operation and some of its challenges, fundraising, student engagement, how has enrollment been?
You know what? So enrollment across the country is a major concern. It's the top of conversation for a lot of institutions. We exist because students, we educate students.
Right.
And so enrollment has been a challenge across the board. Berea is no exception, despite what they provide to students. This day and age, students have other interests. And so we having a lot of conversations about this enrollment cliff, where there's not as many students available to go into college. And so how do you make yourself stand out as an institution that's a good fit for the students that's in our high schools right now, right? So you got to do something to distinguish yourself as well. And some of it is through your programs that you offer. What major, are they relevant? Are they going to lead to a great career opportunity? So a lot of institutions are really looking at their degree programs to make sure that their degree programs are relevant.
And so for kids that might want to, because you've touched on a lot of good points on why somebody should attend Berea. what's I guess, the significant program that Berea offers that would attract students looking at the show in Louisville? Why Berea?
Yeah, so Berea has a lot of great alumni out there. So first and foremost, you get an Ivy League type of education, and you don't pay an Ivy League tuition cost for that. So let's start there. Berea is a liberal arts institution, so of course you're going to have your typical programs in the liberal arts, but you're going to have business. You're going to have engineering, technology, and applied design. You're going to have nursing. You're going to have education, right? So some of those typical majors that you're going to find at some of your four-year institutions, you're going to have those at Berea, with the exception of your medicine, medicine, dentistry, right? Veterinary medicine. So we have pre-professional programs that's at Berea as well. So I always tell students, you know what? You can find what you're looking for. And the reality is many students kind of have an idea what they want to major in going in, but they end up changing majors. It's not uncommon for students to change their majors, 2 and 3
once
times.
Once they get into it, they don't really like the subject that they're looking at or studying, and they say, well, I want to do something different, so I'm changing today.
Definitely. Berea is also home of Carter G. Woodson. And Carter G. Woodson is the father of Black history. And so they have a great African-American studies program there and a center for interracial education, Carter G. Woodson Institute.
You're going to get a call. They're going to call you say, hey, you want to be our next president of Berea College?
Hey, you know what? No time soon. They have a wonderful president coming in, Dr. Cheryl Nixon. They have Dr. Lyle Rulos, who's
well, you're a young man, so you got about
I got some time. We'll see what the future holds, but that's not in my deck of cards right now. I enjoy being at the University of Louisville and doing what I'm doing at the School of Medicine.
The depression part, I would get up only because I knew I had to. I'm always having to do stuff for other people, and I can't, who's helping me? Therapy has improved my life by 95%. Every parent, every child, just everyone, just in general, needs some type of therapy, and they should seek it if they feel the need. When I'm approached or have something happen to me, I feel the emotions for everything, but then I have to set it free because it'll do something to me. So I just, like I said, I feel it, not for long, and then I set it free. That's how I've been able to cope with my situations. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. But yeah, once I couldn't take it anymore, and I reached out for help, and I got it.
If you or someone you love is considering therapy, contact the professionals at Park DuValle Community Health Centers today.
My Park DuValle Community Health Center is right here.
Communities in our name.
My Park DuValle Community Health Center is right here.
You're always on time.
Because we serve the community.
My Park DuValle Community Health Center is right here.
Park DuValle Community Health Center, providing quality health care, one person, one family, one neighborhood at a time.
My Park DuValle Community Health Center is right here for them.
Park DuValle Community Health is right here for your children's primary care. At Park DuValle Community Health Center, our team of highly dedicated pediatric physicians administers state-of-the-art care right here, every day. Because serving the community is more than part of our name, it's our mission. Park DuValle Community Health Center, providing quality health care, one person, one family, one neighborhood at a time.
So let's talk about the School of Medicine and your role. Because you have an excellent role, Chief of Diversity and Inclusion, but I don't think people really understand, like when you have that title in an organization, they expect some performance matrix, etc. but you having a title in an academic setting, you really got to have the educational knowledge because people expect you to speak.
Right.
Right. So walk us through what your normal day looks like.
Yeah, and let me add, so in addition to being the Chief Diversity Officer, I serve as the Associate Dean for Community Engagement, as well as an Assistant Professor for the School of Medicine, right? So a typical day for me may look a little bit different than your average Chief Diversity Officer, right? So when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, anti-racism, it's looking at how does that impact our curriculum? How are we educating this next generation of physicians and research scientists to be culturally aware, culturally responsive, and to have some cultural humility, right? You know, we used to use that term cultural competence, you know, and that's hard. You're not going to know everything about everybody. But how do we look at our curriculum to make changes so that we're not perpetuating some of the stereotypes and prejudices and biases and things like that we know leads to healthcare disparities. So that's the first part of it. I have some great colleagues that I work with to do that. The other part is looking at our policies, practices, and procedures. You know, what's impacting the people who work and learn at the School of Medicine. You know, we have a lot of different policies that impacts, you know, our students differently than they would impact our staff, as well as our faculty and our trainees, our residents, fellows, postdocs. So working with our department chairs and others to look at policy. You know, some things may need to be changed. So, you know, the policy, practice, procedures, and then also looking at strategic planning. Right? How do we, you know, look into what do we want to accomplish in the next 3 years? What do we want to accomplish in the next 5 years? We started doing these 3-year strategic plans. So we look at different areas. How do we want to enhance the infrastructure of our own area so that we can have a greater impact, right? Now, on the community engagement side of things, you know, how are we working with different healthcare entities that we partner with? How are we working with the local school district? You know, so I work with a number of different pathway programs to just educate students on what does it mean to go into a career in medicine or science research, right? Nobody ever asked me that question, right? My doctorate is in education, not medicine. So I wish someone had asked me and provided more exposure to what it means to become a physician or go into science research, right? These are groundbreaking things. So work with pathway programs, work with a lot of college access programs as well. Of course, we try to engage with the YMCA Black Achievers Program, the Lincoln Foundation Whitney Young Scholars, our U of L Upward Bound and Talent Search programs, and any others that may come our way. There's a lot of different college access programs that's in our region. So the day in the life for me looks different every day, which I appreciate, right? It never gets boring. There's always challenges to it. There's a lot of pushback. Being quite frank and transparent, a lot of political pushback, right? We have this
I can believe it.
Trying to prevent the whole woke movement, as folks are calling it, but it's you know, they're missing an opportunity to really gain a better understanding of the complexities that we all bring, you know, to the table and appreciate true diversity.